Make it so. Make it so. Make it so. Make it so.
And now, Making It So with Mike Mann and Josh Bald.
Hello and welcome to Making It So, the premiere episode. Last week you had our 0 episode, which I guess was our premiere episode. It was kind of like a deception of a premiere.
If that's what you could call it.
It was a fake out premiere. It was like a dry run with no guests.
Our massive listener base needed to get to know us, Mike.
Yeah, sure you did. And now that you got to know us, I'm assuming you're all gone, and we will have to develop a new listener base.
We're talking into a void right now.
Right.
Great. By the way, I'm
It feels
Josh Bald. I don't know who that
I'm Mike
guy is.
Mann.
Oh, hi, Mike.
Hi.
Hi. So we just talked to Dave Archer. Renowned artist known for his space paintings made with a Tesla coil and glass, and featured on Star Trek: The Next Generation and at least one of the Next Generation movies. We just had a great conversation with him, and I'm really excited for you guys to hear it.
Oh man, it was so much fun. Dave was a cool guy.
Yes, he had a lot. He's got some good stories, and he made me think a little bit about the grand scheme as well, given his life experiences. So
he's got some cool stories. He's got a good perspective on things, and he's got some Star Trek bona fides.
Yeah, and it turns out It turns out we live pretty close to one another. So who knows? We might hang out someday. I just got to say that.
True.
Yeah. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. What do you say?
See if,
should we just roll that tape and give it a go?
I think so. I think that the listeners can get to choose at the end of the conversation if they think that you should hang out with Dave Archer, or if they think that Dave Archer should steer clear of Josh Bald.
Okay, so if you hang out with Dave Archer, turn to page 52. And if you would avoid hanging out with Josh Bald, turn to page 100, which is, I believe, it just says you win. Congratulations.
You can hashtag Josh Bald yes.
Oh, this is going to be, well, nobody will do it, but it would be wonderful to see. A whole lot, like 2 Josh Bald yeses, and it'll be like my mom and my dog. And then a whole bevy of Josh Bald no's.
Your dog who uses Twitter.
All right,
Sorry.
all right, I'm pressing play. Here we go. Enjoy our conversation with Dave Archer.
Yeah, I moved up here for sanity. When that mountain fell behind me, it was like final curtain on California. If anybody ever figures out what California actually is, please tell me. I was born and raised there. I can't figure it out. I'm here, and I'm out where I had my dream was always to one day get the heck away from the big city and go live in the country where I could look out my kitchen window and there'd be a cow. You know, I'd see a cow in the past. And now I do. There's a cow out there.
You got
quite
one.
a few cows. Yeah.
Joining us today, you've seen his work adorning the walls of the USS Enterprise D. It's artist Dave Archer. Hello, sir. How are you?
Well, I'm doing good. Real good.
And
hey, Mike, happy birthday.
Well, happy birthday to you.
Yeah, happy birthday
right.
and happy child. You seem to be bouncing a kid on your lap, and it looks really good on Facebook.
Oh, man. Thank you, sir. Yeah, well, happy birthday to you as well. I know we just passed your birthday here on the 15th. Is that correct?
That's right. I'm 78. As I said to my redneck brother not long ago, we were out for steak. I said, my God, you're 80. I'm going to be 80 in 3 years, I said. And that was a year ago. He said, what makes you think you're going to make it that long? I love the people up here. When I first got here, my mom sent me up to the store. I came here to help her because she was going on 90 and needed my help. I gave up everything, came up here to help her, to Oregon to help her. She was living down the street from my brother, and he was helping her, and he needed more help, so I came up here. It's been no looking back, really. I have not missed the limelight or the any of it. I really needed to heal.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The art world can be really rough on you.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a ball. I loved it all. But about 10 years in, I was standing there signing like 50 autographs. There was a crowd around me. And I looked out over toward my daughter, who was away from them, and she looked me in the eye, and I spoke to her with my eyes, and I said, "This will never make me happy."
Oh, wow.
Everybody that I've ever known that gets that kind of attention, and I was a D-lister, you know. I mean, I think I was lucky. If I'd been a C-lister, I'd probably be dead. But,
From overexposure, or what do you think?
well, just no. It's there's so many temptations.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Everybody's pushing stuff at you. They actually put drugs in your pocket, you know.
Yeah.
I had a guy once who brought 2 pounds of marijuana in a paper sack and handed it to me. I'm standing there in my tux in the middle of the art show,
Oh, gosh,
and
yeah.
he hands me 2 pounds of pot. That was way before it was legal.
Right.
And I looked in the bag and I went, "Oh my God! Well, thank you very much," and handed it off to my daughter. She took it home. They enjoyed it, but I was. People would say, "Hey, this is Owsley acid from 1964. You know, you got to have this." And I'd say, "Oh, well, thank you," and hand it off to my daughter. She worked a wonderful job for me at the shows. You needed somebody to grab people away from you because there was, you know, a third of the people, they're all drinking.
Uh-huh.
I don't drink, so I noticed that 1/3 are not drinking, 1/3 are carrying around a warm glass of wine that they don't look like they're having much fun with, and the others are drunks, and they will grab onto your arm and sink their fingernails in it, and then you realize, oh, I'm holding them up.
Oh,
Sure. Right.
And she would come diving in and say, "I have to take my father over here." We'd go in the closet and hug, and I'd go, she'd say, "Oh, Papa, it's all right." And I'd say, "How long do we have to go?" And she'd say, "Just 2 more hours." 2 more? Oh, God. And we'd go back out there. But I had a lot of good people working with me, and so I stayed another 10 years, and I was not real happy about it. But I made the best of it I could because I had so many people working with me. I didn't want them to, you know, suffer from me
So
wandering away.
it sounds like you never got into the drug scene, huh?
Oh, in a big way, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Very big, yeah. But I had to give that all up. So when people were handing it to me, you know,
You were able to resist
and-
that temptation, though.
Yeah.
Good.
But there was a lot of other temptations, groupies,
Sure.
just well, you know, when you have character defects or defects of character, and you start up into something bigger than your life, your character defects get bigger. Along with, that's why everybody gets in trouble when they get up there. Not everybody. There's few people that handle it really well, but you'll just see them all on the talk shows everywhere. You know, how they had to go to rehab
Right.
and this and that. And that's because these childhood dreams, once it comes true for you, you realize, oh, it was a childhood dream. It's great as a dream.
hmm
But actually, it's just a lot of work,
Uh-huh.
a
Yeah.
huge amount of work.
The maintenance of it.
You start getting worn out from it all. All
Yeah.
the travel, the shows in Japan, the shows in Europe, you start getting really tired of, well, they just ask you the same questions over and over. It becomes very routine. What kind of paints do you use? You know,
Right.
Winsor Newton, you know.
Right.
or Grumbacher or something. They go, oh, wait, he uses Grumbacher. But they really wanted to know what my secrets were. And I would I don't really have that many secrets. I just pretended like I did. So.
Right. Oh, well, there goes our next question. What are your secrets?
Yeah, cross that one out.
Yeah.
If, I think what I'm curious about is hearing your path from your childhood dream to the D list. How did you take those steps, or how did you get there?
Well, and
I,
you say D-list self-deprecatingly. Deprecatingly. I mean, I
Right.
think we see you as quite the opposite.
well, thank you very much, but somebody looked at me one day and said, "Well, you made the D list," and I said, "You're right, and it's a good thing I did." And I've just thought of it that way ever since, because I'm so crazy. When they gave me the D list, that was like being lost in the garden of earthly delights. I had to have help. I had to take people with me. They would send limousines to my house to take me. I had to have people that knew me come with me just to stand on my feet so I wouldn't float up in the air, and get my ego all huge and think that I was doing all this.
Right.
I wasn't doing it. It was way out of my control. I had nothing to do with it. All I did was show up on time and hope for the best. And it was a great adventure, actually. I love painting. That's what I love.
That's
So,
the crux of it, is there was a talent
yeah.
behind it that got you there.
And that's
So
what I love. And I figure, I always thought, even from very young, boy, an artist, a painter is a good thing to be because you get to paint. If you should live long enough, you get to paint right up to the end. It's beautiful because you could get better and better and better as you learn your craft better and better and better over a
sure.
long period of time. Then you should be able to do your masterpieces right now for me. And that's got me really going. I was pretty depressed out here until I took on a student. I took on Brent Duran, who was born and raised here in the country town of Roseburg. And all he wanted to do was art, and they didn't know what to do with him. So the lady at the video store said, "There's this kid, he keeps coming in with art, and you should talk to him." I said, "Okay, well." So she called, and then we met up at the video store, and he showed me what he was doing in his notebook, and I thought, well, it shows promise. And he looked like he was 12 though, but I called him Kid Boy. I gave him the nickname Kid Boy because he looked so young. I said, "Are you 18?" He said, "No, but I'll be in a little while." And so I said, "Well, when you're 18, you come and there's a table in the studio for you, and we'll get started on some art lessons." So we did. We worked for the first 2 years not on glass. Then after we got going on glass, we did some tours on the road. We did electric painting on the road. We did all kinds of things. And then where it stands now is he's working on a series of paintings that are really good. He's gotten good over the years. It's been, I think, 9 years now.
Wow. Yeah.
We've been, and never had an argument.
That's incredible.
Wow.
Good, great.
That's amazing for any 9-year relationship.
Right.
Yeah, and it was great because his dad is a mechanic, and he was our roadie. Wherever we went out on the road in the van to do the electric stuff, he drove, and he got us there and
Totally
got
supportive.
us back. And yeah, totally supportive, and from the very beginning. So if
That's so
that
cool.
kid if Kid Boy hadn't come into my life, I think I would have. I don't know what would have happened to me because I'd been sitting in here. I wouldn't go in the studio. It creeped me out to be in the studio alone,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
and to think of the huge job I had to do to clean it up, to get started again. And I'd go out there and I'd stand in the middle of it, and then I'd come back in here and I'd go, I'll do it tomorrow. And this was going on. And, well, from the moment he walked in, it was all a new day, and now I know why people teach.
Uh-huh.
Mentoring is incredibly good for the mentor. It gets the mentor off his ass for sure, because you want to give your best,
Right.
You're passing it forward. You want to give them your best, and then you realize that a lot of your best is really like from the crooked old days in the art world. So you better tell them first about how crooked the art world is. Like 75% of the oil paintings in galleries are fakes, and almost all collections of drawings, master drawings worth huge money, are fakes. And people say, well, they have experts. Well, they're so good now, the experts can't tell.
Oh, I see.
So the museum is as long as the museum has the experts can't tell, they go ahead and invest in it and treat it like it's for real. Another part of the art world is I taught him was, you know, have you ever wondered how somebody can nail a garbage bag to the wall of a museum and sell it for $1 million? And he says, yeah.
Right, that kind of.
I,
Yeah.
I said the people who are buying it are laundering drug money.
Oh,
Oh, all right.
Really?
Think about it. Think about it. The art world is enormous, and you've got all this goods going around, and there's just so many ways that lawyers can figure out how to make
Sure,
it all
sure.
work for you.
So by taking
So-
on,
Right.
sorry to interrupt, but by taking on an apprentice,
no.
then did it feel like it sounds like you were rejuvenated, and he didn't run
I
out
was.
the door after you gave him that speech on the first day?
No, it really worked out, and then we went and did a gallery show because I was telling him how bad gallery people can be. I had some good ones, and I had some just dreadful ones. It's steel. They do everything to the artist to drive them crazy, but we do things to drive them crazy too. I'm sure they at their yearly meeting when they get together in the art gallery dealers society luncheon,
Under
they
a
talk
volcano.
about us, you know.
Right.
Yeah, they talk about us, but we talk about them. So I took them. We did an actual full-blown painting with electricity gallery show, and he hated it. He saw right through it. He said, "Oh my God!" And I said, "You see how she treated us and everything? You see what the game is?
Uh-huh.
It's like this massive game, you know. Oh, where can I be in the gallery? And then you're going to make another artist mad. Could she put you there? And then everything. There's an undercurrent.
So there's playing
I said
politics as far as the
It's- oh
gallery
my God.
owners putting artists in
Oh.
different places and using.
Yeah, and the
using them to
artist
get people in.
complaining to her. The artist complaining to her, "You already have me. I'm painting moons and planets," and he, you know, and so it's if you want to be in that business, you're going to have to fight for everything you get, and that's okay if you have the energy for it. But I ran out of energy for fighting over
Huh.
such stupid things, you know.
Right.
And then how it got started was I was always wanted to be an artist. I ended up in a little town called Boyce Hot Springs in 1970, and a friend of mine, Ron Russell, great artist, he had made some paintings on reverse glass by accident using pieces of glass for a palette. He was painting canvases, but when he turned them over, he saw something in them that was special, so he kept them. One of them he put in a little art show, a garden art show, you know, the Art and Garden Society of Santa Rosa is where it was, and they gave him a first place award for his palette. He framed it,
Oh,
you
well.
know, and so that was kind of our art joke. And he said, "Why don't we try some reverse glass painting intentionally, just to
Right.
see what we could come up with?" And I thought it was a dumb idea. Didn't want to do it, and he talked me into it over time. And once we got going, electricity came right along with it. And
Well, so how does that that seems like a big leap to me. How does electricity come right along with it?
Yeah.
well, one of our friends in Boyce Hot Springs, where we were living at the time, we had a little studio there, had a Tesla coil, and
Okay.
he said, "You should try painting with this." And
Oh wow. So
Uh,
that
we-
spirit
we-
of
we did-
experimentation.
we had a big party called the Bootleggers Ball. All the guys that make their own wine also make their own brandy out in it's illegal brandy, but we would have the Bootleggers Ball. It'd be about 100 people there.
Wow.
We had celebrities. We had people, really good music, and we gave away prizes and stuff like live turkeys, and it was just fun. And I billed him as Argonis El Mesmero and his famous indoor lightning act. And I was helping him put the machine. All he did was scream. He lit up a light bulb
Really?
and screamed.
Okay.
He said, "This is not." He said, "This isn't an act, David." I said, "You scream really well. Just keep screaming. They're going to love it. Scream and scream, and then stop screaming when I turn it off. And then when I turn it on, scream louder, and you'll get a standing ovation. These people are drunk." And he said, "Okay." So he came out and did that, and he was a big hit of the show. And all he was doing was reaching out with the light bulb and taking some sparks and lighting it up and screaming at the top of his lungs. That was great. And when we were putting it in his truck, I said, "Hey, let's put this." He said, "Oh, you should paint with this." And I said, "God, that's a great idea. We could experiment with it. Hey, why don't you bring it over to the studio?" So he did, and we put a piece of glass on top of it, and we dribbled some ink. Different inks. We had these Dr. Martin's dyes, aniline dyes, and we put them up there, and we turned it on, and immediately the arcs went to the little puddles of ink, and it made them energized, so they started growing around on the glass, and we went, "It's alive! It's alive!" And that was it. We were dancing. I think you could have heard us in Sonoma. We were so happy. We thought we discovered the Philosopher's Stone. You know, actually, we had stumbled upon something new. Like it really had never been done before, and so we ended up the pioneers. And
it really
he turned
was.
it all over to me.
And how rare is that in the art world? You know?
Yeah. Well, we were in that generation where everybody shared everything. Like now they're doing it again on social media. How to make a painting in this way or that way. You can find anything you want to do. You can find it. I see they've discovered all of my old secrets. You know, like how to do this, how to do that. And I say, oh, I thought I discovered that. Then I remember that I'm the guy that got them started on space painting. And I did it accidentally. My work was seen on the largest show in the world. It was called Beyond 2000. It came out of Australia, and it was seen. It was the most highly syndicated show in television history, and my segment played on reruns for 5 years, every 2 months. There I'd be again, and so people in Mexico and all over saw what I was doing with space on glass, and I gave away a few secrets in that show. Then they started doing them all over South America and Mexico, and making lots and lots of money from the tourists. I thought that was great because I inspired them to do this, and they were taking home $400 a day if they were in the right place, you know.
Yeah.
And their families really needed it, so I thought that was really cool. Then I would see people doing it at fairs, and I'd say, "Wow, that show really got out there."
Yeah, sounds like it.
It inspired a lot of people. I have never seen so many space paintings and they're doing them on glass and every other kind of thing you can think of. And they're burning wood with electricity. So it all fits in together, and you start to see, well, actually, I did kind of influence a little here and there, where people took the idea and ran with it. And I should stop complaining about it and realize that it's a compliment.
I appreciate your attitude towards that too, seeing that somebody would imitate what you're doing and take that style and make a living off of it, and you're cool with it. I think a lot of people might get ego involved.
There was a guy that took off making paintings just like mine, and I got really upset.
Okay.
And I learned from that. I learned from that. I got a lawyer involved, got really upset, and they hadn't quite passed the law yet that says an artist's style is an artist's style, and you can't work that way.
Oh, I see.
Or I could have stopped him, but I'm glad I didn't, because I used to say terrible things about him. I'd get on some show and they'd ask me about him, and I'd say, "Well, that's not painting, that's art supplies." Or I'd say, "Yeah, there should be one of his. I think there should be one of his works in every motel room in the country." So one day I felt guilty, and I called him up and I apologized, and he was so appreciative that we decided to call each other colleagues after this. We're colleagues.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bury the
What is the
hatchet.
point of? It's just artistic ego, and you have to laugh. You have to laugh at yourself. You know, you can't live that way very nicely. There's always some unpleasant thing going in the back of your head. So I cleaned up things as I went along. I became a little better person, I hope.
And now
And,
you're passing it on to Brent, the big
Yeah,
bad
and-
way, man. Because I've seen some
Yeah.
of Brent's paintings, and he's got it. He's got something.
He's on his way, man.
Yeah.
He really is, and I'm very proud of him. I don't like being around it much anymore at all, because it is like we're going up to 5G. I've been taking a lot of microwave energy for a long time. I'm thought of as being an experimental guy in terms of a guinea pig. There's only a few people that have lived around that much for so long and used it for hours and hours and stuff like that for 40 years. So I do have problems. I did get neuropathy. I know that the other two people that are thought of as the long-termers also got problems. I think we had too much. And so I shy away from it now. We have it all set up, ready to go, and we experiment things, but I don't care for it much at all. I'm kind of like the dog, you know. He didn't like it much either, but he doesn't want to be put out of the room, you know. I put him in the back room once, and I said, you wait here. I know you don't like the electricity. And I went out there, and he did something he'd never done before. He took a poop in the middle of my bed.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, wow.
That is a statement.
Yeah.
Don't you leave me out of that. I don't care if I don't like it. I want to be out there.
Right.
So now he's always there. It worked. That message. That's the only one I want to get.
Yeah.
So, so anyway, I on it went, and I met. At one point, I had a big studio. Everything was going pretty good. This is in the early 90s, and a guy came in named Phil Edgerly, and he was looking for art for an insurance ad. And he picked out something that he wanted to use of mine for this insurance ad. And he said, can I look for other things for you? He became my publicist. He's the guy that got me on Star Trek.
Oh.
He took a painting and walked on the set. He had chutzpah. He just would walk in places and show them. And they'd go, whoa, what is that? You know,
Wow.
Because they look, you've seen them.
Oh, I've seen him in person.
Picture-
I've got two of your paintings.
That's incredible. They look third dimensional if they have the light on them right?
Yeah.
And, so he had that going for him. He took a really nice sample. He just boldly walked in there, and he couldn't find Rick James. Richard James was the production designer. He couldn't find Richard James, so he put the painting down, and he was getting the 4x5 transparencies that he had to show him, and the light table that he carried in, portable light table,
Oh, wow,
and he
he
was
came
setting
prepared.
it up. And Richard James walked around the corner of the set and saw the painting leaning against the wall and jumped and said, whoa, what is this? What is this? This is what we have to have. This is what I've been looking for. Can you get, who are you? And Phil said, look, I have more. He says, I don't have to see them. All I want is 4 or 5 of those as large format photographs with rounded corners and 4 boards on the back so we can hang them real easy and move them around the set. And he called me up and told me, and I was in shock. And he told me how it happened, and I was total shock. And then I ended up down there many times to be on the set and see every time something new was happening that involved my work, he had me down there.
Yeah.
And so I had the joy and privilege of being on closed sets with the little badge around your neck on a chain, and
Oh, sure, yeah.
they got a,
Uh-huh.
they have a, it's in, you know, those sound stages that you could put 5 blimps in.
Right.
The roofs are so high, and I think I just sent you a picture of me standing in Guinan's quarters
Yes.
on the movie Generations, and that painting I did is lit up from behind.
Yeah, we'll tweet that one out. It's gorgeous.
That's a large transparency that's been put behind plastic and then lit up from behind. And that's how I cost Paramount Pictures $100,000.
Oh my gosh.
So we're standing. There's like 60 people on the set, and the actors all have their tall chairs with their names on them and all that, and everybody's looking great. And there's like, I started getting weird beeps.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. We just dropped out and lost
What are
you.
those beeps? What is that beep?
That was an interesting sound.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
Yeah. Was that because we lost each other on the hookup?
Yeah, I'm not positive what that was.
Because I've been very careful not to push on the phone. Yeah. I was right. Where was I?
You were in the Guinan's
Oh,
quarters
yeah.
with the picture.
Yeah.
So I had in the same movie, Generations, they had the champagne bottle come across
Yep.
in the beginning.
Oh, right, yeah.
and it hits the ship, and they pan up into a window, and there's a bunch of people like the Space Federation of Planets or something. The Federation of Planets is kind of like the United Nations.
Right.
So it's a mixed group of costumed actors in front of a giant set that I did. So we're standing out there and we're going to watch them shoot this scene, and they have a cable that goes up to the top of the ceiling, which is like half a mile up there. It's just the biggest room I've ever been in, except the Sistine Chapel.
Oh, nice.
And they were actually, it would be like the camera was going to slowly come down that cable toward the window. So you would get a bottle's eye view of coming closer to the ship.
Sure.
And so the camera had this like robot thing, and they got all set up to do it. And when they say silent on the set, I guess they really mean it. Because I said, oh my God. I didn't say it out loud. I'm thinking, oh my God, they don't have the light on behind the set. The picture's not going to show up like it's supposed to. And so all I did, we were standing, I bet you we were 50 feet away from the director. He was in a canvas chair near the camera and near another camera. Here comes the camera down, and I whispered, and the camera's on its way down, the shot's being made, we're supposed to be quiet, and I whispered as low as I possibly could into the ear of my agent and said, it's not lit. And I hear this roar from the director. He's like 60 feet away. Who's talking on my set?
Oh my gosh.
And like two of these little women came running at me, with their clipboards, and I guess they're called PAs or something, or I don't know. They just have that job to do, to have you thrown out if they need to, or anything like that. They're checking. They come up and they look you in the eye and they say, "Who are you? Why are you here?" It's a closed set, so they have people going on, and they want to know. And you tell them, and you say, "Well, that's my set," and they go, "Oh, I love it," everything. But they're checking, man. And so I told them, I'm the guy that did the set, and it's not lit. It lights from behind.
Oh, I see.
One of them did a jog back to the director, told him, and he said, "Where's the lighting tech? Good God Almighty, light the fucking set!" And the lights turn on. You don't see the guy that goofed,
Right.
but the lights come up, and then okay, roll her back, roll the camera back, and it starts back up the cable, and Phil turns to me and says, "You just cost Paramount Studios $100,000.
Well, really, you just saved him that much. It should be.
I think you saved him a reshoot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It should
actually,
be.
I never thought of it that way.
Or else they would have bought that painting for nothing too.
Right.
That same
They
day.
wouldn't have been able to see it.
Oh, another trip. We make this other trip, and I meant to tell you, at that one where I'm in Whoopi Goldberg's room, guy in his quarters, I was with my art dealer. You should never take an art dealer to a closed movie set, because cameras aren't allowed.
Oh, sure.
And so we went around a corner, and there was my set. And I said, "Oh, my God, this is it. The light's on, everything. It's beautiful." And he says, "Let me take your picture." And I said, "Oh, put the camera away. Put the camera away. We'll be thrown out of here. Jesus, God, put the camera away. Put the camera away." And he's going, "Oh, no, I just take one." He was Iranian. "I take one." I said, "No, God." And so I'm smiling there. He took about 3, and they had flash bulbs. So the
Oh, no.
first flash
Oh.
bulbs that went off, I went, "Oh, God, why do you have a flash?" And I'm whispering this to him, and he says, "It's okay, it's okay. Smile, smile." And I smiled, or we would never have had that photograph.
Wow.
And I thought, oh my God, oh Jesus, we're going to get in so much trouble. You can't take that picture and take it outside. So I never used it until after the movie was out. I wouldn't. I'm
That's a good
allowed
idea.
to use. I'm allowed to use all that stuff as long as I say Star Trek: The Next Generation is a registered trademark of Paramount Pictures Corporation. If I put that in small print down at the bottom, I can use it on pretty much anything.
Yeah,
Just
sure.
an ad.
Yeah, it's a good thing you know that attribution so you don't get caught up in it. That's good.
And they don't come after me. He's the guy. That's all right. All the people that worked on it can do different things, as long as we credit the trademark.
Behind the scenes photography credit to
Right. Yeah.
a certain agent. But
No, I don't
overzealous.
credit that one. I
Yeah.
do not credit that one because the other story I have for you for this podcast. I want this podcast to be good because it's your first one. you know.
Oh yeah,
It is
thanks.
so far.
Man.
Thank you.
It's been so
So-
fun.
I'm telling you my best on-set stuff. Here's another one. He arranged for me to have my picture taken, which required a full crew. I mean, unbelievable. Why don't you just have a guy with the camera and he stands you by your set and he clicks your picture?
Uh-huh.
But no, because it's union, you
Oh.
have to have a whole crew for taking still pictures of someone involved in the movie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So he had that all set up, but he didn't tell me. He didn't mention they're going to be doing this very odd thing. So there's like a lighting director and a lighting tech, who's the guy that picks up the light stand and moves it when the lighting director tells him to move it.
Okay. Yeah.
But the lighting director can't tell him to move it until the overall director tells the lighting director. So the overall director, you're standing there waiting for him to click the goddamn thing, and he's telling him, he says something like this, turns to the guy and he says, "Tell the lighting tech to move the light 1 foot to the right." And then the lighting director says, "Move the thing 1 foot to the right." And he does. And they're doing this, and I finally say, "What in the world is going on?" They say, "Oh, it's all union rules. It's the stupidest thing. We have to talk this way when we're doing a job." So every part of the union is satisfied. So they had like 3 different people. They had the photographer, the director of photography. It just goes on and on. There was a crowd. And so I look up and I see a red uniform headed toward me from a long distance away. I can't really quite tell who it is because they got lights on me. And as he comes into the lights, it's Mr. Sulu.
Yes.
Oh, George Takei. Great.
Yeah, George Takei. And he pauses there, and he just wandered over to see, I wonder what's going on. I wonder who they're shooting. Well, he didn't know me from Adam, but he looked at me, and I saw his lips move. And I thought I knew what he said, but I wasn't sure. His lips moved. And then later he did an ad where he said, "Oh, my."
That's a pretty good
And I knew.
approximation.
I knew. Yeah, he walked up, looked at me up and down, and said, "Oh my!"
He was admiring the art, so
Yeah.
to speak.
And
Yeah.
we were,
That's a great one to carry around in your hip pocket. That's
yeah,
Yes.
I mean, it just, someday I should probably send him a little note and say, "Do you remember that?" Yeah, he wouldn't remember.
a thank you card, maybe. Yeah.
Mhm.
I was curious
Yeah, so-
with what you were telling us that Phil just kind of grabbed some of your works and was showing them off. Was that something you were comfortable with at the time, or did you just say you go do your thing and whatever comes of it comes of it?
Well, he got back to me. He said, when he was in the studio, he saw that my work was on these 2 credit cards for Lamar Savings out of Texas.
Okay.
And he said, "Whoa, they were framed and on the wall as part of the junk that artists collect. And he said, when did you get these? And I said, oh, just recently. These are brand new. I'm supposedly the first artist ever to have their work on a credit card. And they're going to start doing pictures on credit cards now. And this is supposedly the very first one. And I have the 2 cards with my name on them. I could have used them, but I didn't want to. So I framed them. And he said, well, let me see if I can get you Diners Club. And
That's great.
I said, oh, okay. So he started calling me, and he was out and about all over the place. And I changed his life. He ended up having a life in the movies, working on, he's the guy, like, when they did that flood movie where the graveyard gets flooded. I can't remember what it was. It was like a
Graveyard gets flooded.
drama kind of thing where there's some kind of flood and people are being swept away. And anyway, he's the guy that took an 18-wheel double flatbed and went around graveyards all over the place collecting tombstones that they throw away out back without telling anybody.
Oh my gosh.
They don't want the general public to know that they need the space.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of collectors
And
out there.
after a certain number of years, 50, 100, whatever the years are, they take that tombstone and they throw it on the pile of old tombstones and back. So that was just one thing he did. He went around for Paramount collecting dozens and dozens of tombstones to build their own graveyard for the scene. They couldn't do it with anything but real stones. And
Wow, so he would get into whatever he could, huh?
They said he's now done like 50 or 60 movies.
Oh wow,
And
yeah.
it's always different. Always different. He's always doing, but a lot of it has to do with gathering props.
Okay.
Now, he contacted me recently for the first time in 20 years. I got an email from him.
Oh, wow.
He said something good. He said something good's coming. I didn't think he'd ever speak to me again, but artist agent, they really have their differences, and it can get pretty sorted at times, and it did. So I didn't think he'd ever be really calling me, but he certainly did, and I'm kind of intrigued because he's very tight-lipped on any movie he's working on, and he said something about, it's just a short email. I'll be getting in touch with you soon. Good news. Stay healthy. Blah blah blah. Just very short, and so I wrote him back and said, great, and I'm expecting to hear from him almost any day. There might be an email on there right now that has some kind of thing he wants me to, that he's got my work in, because he's still got all the photographs and everything that he had.
Well, you said you're staying away from the Tesla coil mostly these days. Would you go back in there then for a big piece for a new movie?
Oh, I don't think it would be that. I think they would just use them as set decorations.
So you
Which
want
is great.
to go for a new
He
piece?
He just got them in. The last time they were used was in a fairly recent movie, Terminator Genesis.
Oh, sure.
There's an airport scene, and my work is it's a spaceport scene, and back on the very back wall in distance, you see a great big kind of like huge wall of, not like paintings that are framed, but one big thing, one big element that has my art on it. And so I got all excited, and I went to the theater and I saw it, and my friend tried to photograph it off the screen.
Your friends and their
how
cameras.
fast and it didn't work, and so I came home. I got the movie, and I came home and I sat down and I went through it, and I kept waiting for my part. It's only on there, for a short thing. They're walking through the airport, and you can see in the background. Well, I thought I could get one shot off the screen and at least put it on my Facebook page, And they had taken it out when they released it. It was in it.
Oh, it was cut?
At the theater.
That scene? Oh.
It was cut out. It was cut out for the video. And I said, oh, well, thank you very much for that.
That's so bizarre.
I've never, I try not to get excited ever. And I always do, but I try not to. He called me once and said, Lily Tomlin loves your work, and she's doing a show called Is There Intelligent Life in the Universe? And she wants to put your slides of your work up behind her while she's doing the show. Oh, there we go again.
Oh, that must be, I think
Did
Brent
you hear
might be getting a message. That might be it.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay. That's hilarious.
Whoops.
So, yeah, I got all excited about that because I loved Lily Tomlin. I mean,
Yeah.
her sense of humor.
Yeah.
She said, I saw her stage show, and the first thing she said when she walked out, I went into a store. I bought a wastebasket. They put it in a bag. I took it home. I took it out of the bag, wadded the bag up, and threw it in the wastebasket. And she was, I just loved that kind of thing. I got all excited, couldn't sleep, everything. It's like the 2 times I got invited on Letterman, and then they canceled because the electricity was too much.
Oh, is that right?
Oh.
Yeah, and I got excited. I try because it ruins your life for about 2 weeks. You know,
That's
You're-
probably all you think about.
Right.
Oh God! I've got to get the coil all packed up and shipped to frickin' New York, and I have to go to New York, and you're telling everybody you know, and you're calling your mother, you know, and it's ridiculous. And then it doesn't happen. Like he calls me up and said, "Oh, well, they found another artist that they're going to use instead of you. Sorry." And you just go.
Deflated, back down to earth.
Totally down to earth. And
Uh,
you think, you know, next time, if anything ever does ever come in again, I hope that I have the presence of mind not to get real excited about it.
right.
Yeah. Staying grounded there.
Yeah, I think I accidentally turned I think my finger hit a button that turned on the speakerphone on this thing.
Okay. You sound about the same to me.
Oh, yeah, it's on.
Okay.
That is so weird. Okay, I'm not going to touch anything else. Well, it was on the side of the phone. That's not fair.
One of our questions we were curious about was that your art's been all over the place on TV and films and everywhere else. So what are some of the favorite places that your art has ended up?
One of the very favorite was in the Young Museum when we were just starting out. We got paintings in there in a big show. And that was fun because it was a museum and we thought that was really pretty hotshot stuff. Well, National Geographic did a piece on my work and I thought that was wonderful. It was the issue on lightning.
Oh, cool.
And a guy came to my studio and did I think it was 2 days, 2 long, grueling days, where I changed clothes over and over, and he shot and shot and shot and shot. And he had cameras on stands, he had lights everywhere, and if he pushed a little button on a remote, it set everything off at once, takes a picture, and the pictures involved doing double exposures where I stepped into the picture and then pretended to be shooting. He would first redo the arcs, then I'd step in and pretend to be shooting. So he'd get more arcs.
Oh, sure.
And it would look better. And boy, he really, for that magazine, they really go all out. He's a very world famous photographer now, Peter Menzel. So that was one I loved. My old teacher wrote me a letter and said, "Welcome to the National Club," meaning he had been in
That's
National
great.
Geographic too many years ago, and he wrote me, and I didn't even know he remembered me. That was kind of
Wow.
fun, those kind of things, you know.
Yeah,
You had another question?
that's awesome.
Yeah, we had yeah, that's great to hear. It's because I would feel weird seeing my own works published somewhere. I think it's a strange thing to see that, and it would probably make me
It
feel
is, in
more
fact.
insecure.
Here's a good one for you. I could not believe that I was on Star Trek The Next Generation, a show I loved so much. I
Well,
could not
yeah.
believe it, so I just didn't believe it. And
Yeah.
I would do that by just kind of forgetting, and my kids would be in the living room, and they'd yell, "Dad, a Klingon is going by your bed!" And I'd come running out of the kitchen. They'd say, "Oh, too late." So I'd go back in the kitchen and keep cooking dinner. And "Dad, here's this." I'd go running out. Well, finally, one day, after about 3 months of being on the show, I made myself dinner and I sat down on the floor of the living room with a big old cushion pillow behind my back and started eating dinner and clicked on the TV, and it was The Next Generation, and the captain and I think Troy were sitting in front of one of my paintings really big. I
Yes.
think I sent that photo to you.
Yes.
Yeah, we got
And,
to see that one.
And I'm sitting there with the mouth full of food, which I nearly dropped in my lap because it hit me. It finally hit me.
Ah.
And when it hit me, it was like getting hit in the gut with a bowling ball. I went, holy, ooh, I won't say it. I went, oh my God, that, they could, I remember the first thing I said, I'm talking out loud, I was like, they could have used any other artist in America or the world.
Right.
My God, that's
Yeah.
oh my God! And I'm just sitting there going absolutely crazy. So yeah, it took me a long time to actually accept it.
Oh, that's
And
so
then-
cool.
Yeah, that's neat. To
By
finally
that time-
register it in that moment.
Yeah, and then the movies came along, and that meant that I went down there. And then he got a truck and put that great huge set in it with the logo I did for the United Federations of Planets for Generations, and drove it all the way back up to the Bay Area. Took it across. He had trouble on the Golden Gate Bridge because of the wind.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Jeez.
He had it strapped in the back of a pickup.
Oh, wow.
And he drove this huge Star Trek set. It wasn't even covered. Yeah, he brought it to me. So that was a fun thing. I had it for years and years and years. Then I sold it one day just because it was so big and kind of in the way.
Wow.
So we had it lit up in the studio and had some great shows in there with it. And people wanted to buy it, and I always said no. I'm going to put it in my bedroom someday or something. I'll have it in my house. You don't want that big a thing anyway. It's too big. They put it in a store for
wow.
back then. They sold Star Trek toys and stuff. Oh, I was walking down the street one day in San Francisco, and I look in a window of a store, and there's my boxes, my Star Trek boxes. I did the art on all the doll boxes, the Captain Picard and Riker
Is
and
that right?
everything.
The action figures, those kind of things?
All those action figures, yeah, those were my boxes for a long time. That was my art on the boxes. And I didn't get very many when, he always gave me samples of how they were used and stuff. So I had a couple of those, but I looked and then I did a double take, and all the characters are standing there, and they have a little penis sticking out.
What?
Yes. And I said, holy crap, look at that. And I'm looking in the window, and I go inside, and I said, tell me the story of your window. And he said, oh, we have all these here. There were some lesbians in Oakland, and they got this idea that if they made these pop beads out of plastic, they could drill a hole and just pop something onto something. And so what they did was they ordered cases and cases of Star Trek Next Generation dolls, action figures, and they drilled holes in all of them and popped a bead in. And so they were out of Riker. I mean, they were out of the Captain. I got a Riker. I could probably sell it today for $300.
Well, especially with that edition.
But it's a little embarrassing to put up, in my shop. I have a little shop, and I think, well, it is my box, and I did do the art. I mean, and it's kind of a thing where they just got these at wholesale and turned over their money real fast. I said, how are they selling? He says, we can't keep them in stock. Now, I don't know. I don't know who's buying them, but I bought one, and I should have probably bought 5.
Yeah, now that's boldly going, I guess.
Oh, gosh.
They're collector's items now, and I could have
For
had
sure.
it,
Now
Yeah.
we should plug your shop, your artist shop, which has all sorts of eccentric items, not just your art, but things that you've collected over the years. Much like the penis statues. But
Oddities,
it does also have
curiosity.
yeah. It was that a Top Secret reference?
I had a museum, a personal museum that looked like Ripley's, believe it or not,
Yeah.
and everybody loved it. And I reached a point where I didn't want all that stuff anymore, and my kids didn't want it when after I passed because it's just going to be a huge, massive, giant pile of stuff. So I've sold over 1,100 pieces now out of that.
Wow.
And also, I put my paintings up there. I decided, you know what? I'm going to do something different. I'm going to offer the paintings at a really good price. And here's how I came up with that. When the time I made $1 million in 1 year, I was getting 40%, and the owner of the gallery was getting 60%. So he made quite a bit more than I did.
Yeah.
He also wanted me to do do the paintings at a half of half, so he could wholesale them to dealers and get them in more galleries. And so I was working. I had boundless energy, and I made a lot of money. I made $1 million 1 year, and then it was downhill from there. But that was my rise up through the money part of it. It got better and better and better until it just reached a point that was inevitable for everybody. At one point, it's going to just drive you completely out of your mind, so you have to go down the shady side of the mountain and get the hell out of there before it kills you. And that's what I did.
Well, good thing you did.
Yeah, glad
I
to hear
think
it.
so. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
And
scrolling.
I had
I'm sorry. I'm scrolling through your Etsy shop right now, and there's a lot of interesting stuff here.
yeah, it's Etsy, and it's called Dave Archer Artist
Shop.
Yep.
Shop.
that's
Dave
exactly
Archer
right.
Artist Shop.
Yeah.
And there's a menu on there. If you click on Dave Archer paintings, it'll take you to all that are available at the moment. I'm about to go into a major upload of all kinds of art that I have from the past and stored in rooms and closets and piles and stacks. And it's that part of the Etsy site is going to be expanding. Lately, and I'm putting excellent price. I'm saying, okay, you know what? I think I'll just thumb my nose a little bit over the mountain at some of the things they've tried to pull off, but I'll take responsibility for being a prima donna, and I probably drove them crazy too, so it's even. So, I'm going to now do something that's unusual for an artist to do, and that is if you don't have all the backing, like the gallery, all that stuff that they do, and you're alone, you can do. Artists open up their own galleries. Artists do all kinds of things. So I thought, well, I don't want to open a gallery. I just want to do it out of my room. So what I'll do is offer them for the same amount of money I used to make back in the day. That will allow more people who might not be able to afford them to have the art, and I like those people to have it rather than the rich, because the rich are fine, they're nice people, but they don't really care that much, in my personal opinion, having dealt with them in a long time. They don't care that much about the art. They buy it kind of like an investment and stuff, and the other people who have to stretch a little bit are just ordinary working people, and they've always supported me. The ordinary working people have always supported my work. From the time I sold it in the street, up through galleries, up through the whole thing, it was them. And my friends were putting their prices up to $100,000, and I was saying, no, I'm never going to do that. That would make me very uncomfortable. I couldn't do that. It's not in me to do that. So I decided, well, this is it. It all makes sense to me now. I'm going to put them up at a great price, and I sold about 30 in the last month.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
And
moving them
That's
then.
pretty good.
It's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's pretty-
Yeah. If you go over to that Dave Archer Artist Shop on Etsy, there's probably 12 maybe pictures up right now.
Yeah, they vary. Sometimes I'll put up like 10 more,
Sure.
And
It's just beautiful stuff.
Yeah, they look
like I
great.
said, I own two,
I
and
closed-
when
I
you
actually
bring 'em home-
closed I closed my regular website because the prices were too high and it wasn't really doing anything, wasn't getting any attention. But I already had the Etsy shop to sell off my old museum, and I thought, well, I'll just put them in here and that'll be it. And I wrote a statement. People have been asking me why I would sell on Etsy for less than they're already selling on auction online.
yeah,
Well, because I need to make a living. And I have always loved the people that love the paintings and want to live with them and enjoy them. And I love it when they write me and tell me, you saved our marriage. We were about to divorce and we got this painting of yours and we put it over the fireplace. And it's 20 years later now. We turned off the television. We started watching your painting. And I said, watching my painting? Wow, that's amazing. And they start talking about larger issues, the universe, how big it is, how small they are, and they came back together and fell in love again. So, and a lady, when the firemen took her out of her house, the only thing she had saved was my painting, and it was under her arm. She was holding it so tightly, she was practically breaking her skin.
Oh, that's incredible.
Holding it. Yeah, and they said, what's that? And she pulled it out, and I hadn't even realized it, but that was her Archer, and she was, I felt like saying, did you get you left the baby? You know? The cat? You didn't get the cat? Oh, God. But, yeah, so many people have let me know those kind of things over the years that I like to stick with them. I like to stick with the people that love the work. They really love it. And it really moves something. And that, to me, that makes sense. That then my work is having an effect. Whereas in the other way, they just sell it. You never know who got it. They tell you, oh, the guy's probably worth $10 million that was in here, man. He bought 5 of your works. He wants 5 more.
You don't get that same kind of connection that you do, that you just described.
No, you don't get any of it. And if you do, with the wealthy people, it's totally different. It's just a totally different vibration. They're not gushing over how much it means to them. They're not telling you, I stayed with your paintings for days. Like if there's a woman, she's coming to my house. I'm going to meet her tomorrow. We're going to have a talk. She lives close by. She lost a daughter. So she happened to be walking past the gallery in grief, and the paintings drew her in. And they made all the difference in her grief. She went every day and stayed as long as 2 or 3 hours. And they let her just sit and stare into the paintings. I had another guy he bought, and she's coming here to visit, you know. And then I had a guy, he bought a giant painting, and he had it put low so he could roll up to it on his wheelchair with good lights on it. And then he sat in the wheelchair and passed away into the painting.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Heavy.
Holy cow.
Heavy.
Yeah.
And his wife called me and told me, well, he got what he wanted. When I was pushing him through your art show, he said, I have to have that. That's where I'm going. And so when you hear things like that, it's like, whoa. You know, I'm not painting in a vacuum.
No.
These actually they go out in the world, they have their own stories. I may never see them again or even remember them, but they're doing their work out there. That feels good. That feels good. Because for a long time, I didn't get any of that feedback. But so many decades have gone by that now I start to get the more interesting stuff. Because there's books out there people can buy, and it tells you the address of different people that you can get autographs from. I guess I'm in one of those because I get a certain type of fan mail that wants a signed picture of me painting with electricity and yada yada. But I can tell that it's coming out of that book. That their request is because they always start. I have leukemia and I'm in. You know, it's there's this. I can tell they're coming out of the book. They're different. They're completely different than other readers. And phone calls I get from people who say, I just wanted to call. We're both sitting here on speakerphone. We just wanted to call you after all these years and tell you how much and what your painting did for us. I can't hear enough of that because it keeps my spirits up. And boy, that's what I need at 78 to keep going out in the studio and work.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, especially if you're going to make it to 80 to, match your brother.
I got to, yeah. Because he dropped dead right at 80.
Oh, no.
Right after he said that, about a year later, he was gone. I said, wow, well, maybe I won't make it to 80, but I'm going to enjoy today. In this moment, I own it.
Well, I'm glad you have that clarity. That's it's reassuring to me, too. It really is.
Own the moment. Get the moment. And just own the moment, you know. The moment is eternal, and it's where the rubber meets the road.
Well, I'll tell you that the moments that we've been having here were a lot of fun, and really enjoyed talking to you, Dave. I appreciate it very much
Well-
for you to come talk to us.
Absolutely. Well, Dave, thank you so much for joining us.
You're most welcome. I really appreciate it.
Oh, wow. What a conversation.
Good times with Dave Archer. Very much enjoyed that conversation. And that was this is it. This was our first episode of Making It So. I really hope that you enjoyed it. We will be back in a couple of weeks. Mike, would you like to tell them? Because I know you're excited about it.
I'm so excited. Joining us in 2 weeks, author, screenwriter, former lawyer, Melinda M. Snodgrass.
Former lawyer. I did not know that one. And I'm excited about that one too because, as you may or may not know, I'm a failed writer and Mike is an aspiring writer. So
No,
we're going to
you can call me a failed writer. That's fine.
We're both failed writers. We will have lots of questions for her. Mostly, why did I fail? Please tell me why I failed. Over and over. No, that won't be it. But it should be a good conversation about writing, and we'll find out what she's up to these days as well. Mike, where can people find us on the old social media?
Absolutely. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at MakingItSoPod. You can find us on email at makingitsopod@gmail.com.
Now, I've cut out Mike's previous 13 attempts at that, but that's probably the best.
See, there's too many ats is the problem. Sometimes it's
I
before
know.
Making It So Pod, sometimes it's
Sometimes
after.
it's after. Some people are saying, come at me, bro, all the time. So I'm lost.
I'm being added.
By the way, thank you to our 3 Twitter followers so far, John, Chris, and Norm. Norm! Thank you. That's it. That's it for this episode of Making It So, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks with Melinda Snodgrass.
Stay safe out there.
It has been made so. Thanks for listening. Live long and prosper.
Make it so.